The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight.
It was our judgment, based on the information that we had, that his life, his health were in peril.
But that turned out not to be the case, at least according to doctors examining Sergeant Bo Bergdahl in Germany. We'll continue our reporting on this very troubling situation.
Thank you, Bill O'Reilly, for demonstrating how to conduct a smear campaign against a military family.
The far left getting desperate now, trying to deflect attention away from the president's order to release 5 Taliban war criminals from Guantanamo Bay. We'll tell you what this is all about.
People have called him a traitor. Do you think Bo Bergdahl is a traitor?
Also tonight, Jesse Waters traveling to Bergdahl's hometown to find out what the folks there think about the big controversy.
Personally, I think he switched over to the other side, dad and the son.
Caution. You are about to enter the no-spin zone. The Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. The Taliban swap closing in on President Obama. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. This may turn out to be the worst controversy the president will experience. Right now, he's catching it from all sides, and his far-left acolytes are getting desperate in his defense. A new USA Today poll tells the story. 43% say it was wrong for the president to trade 5 Taliban war criminals for Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. Just 34% believe it was the right thing to do. And tonight there's new information. Mr. Obama says he made the exchange because he believed the sergeant's life was in danger.
We had a prisoner of war whose health had deteriorated, and we were deeply concerned about, and we saw an opportunity and we seized it, and I make no apologies for that.
It was our judgment, based on the information that we had, that his life, his health were in peril.
But according to American doctors who examined Bergdahl in Afghanistan and others who saw him in Germany, where he's now, the sergeant's physical health is fine. Nothing seriously wrong with him. Nothing. So once again, the President of the United States finds himself in a truth controversy. Bergdahl's mental health, another matter. That remains undefined. It'd be wrong to condemn the sergeant without a hearing. He has a right to put forth his case, and we hope he does. He may have even been tortured in captivity. So we have to cut him at least some slack right now. Talking Points is not going to jump to any conclusions. We'll stay with the facts as we always do. But some Americans don't want to acknowledge the facts, and the president may be in that crew. The far left is attacking people who raise questions about the sergeant and his family. Over the weekend, this happened on CNN.
After the prisoner swap, this story got personal and political fast.
But it is Robert Bergdahl, the father, who is also engendering some controversy. He has learned to speak Pashto, the language of the Taliban, and looks like a Muslim. He's also somewhat sympathetic to Islam, actually thanking Allah right in front of the president.
Thank you, Bill O'Reilly, for demonstrating how to conduct a smear campaign against a military family.
So by telling you the truth that Robert Bergdahl learned to speak Pashto and looked like a Muslim at the White House, I am smearing a military family. Now, we expect that from that guy, a notorious far-left zealot who has masqueraded as a journalist for years. And there is a coordinated effort on the left to hammer anyone criticizing the Taliban deal. Yesterday in the New York Times, a front-page headline read, quote, Bergdahl was in unit known for its troubles. Article pointing out the platoon was, quote, raggedy, and sometimes soldiers wore bandanas and cut-off T-shirts. That's about it. That was the specific thing the New York Times came up with to denigrate the entire platoon. And the paper ran that story on page 1. You may remember last week the Times editorialized that members of Sergeant Bergdahl's unit who were criticizing him for desertion were being run by Republicans. So you can see what's going on here. There is no question that the release of the 5 Taliban commanders will have an effect on the entire world. Over the weekend, the Taliban attacked the Karachi International Airport in Pakistan, sending a signal it's trying to destabilize the entire nation. Taliban is a threat to the world. Make no mistake about that. That's why this story is so important. By the way, here's how stupid the Pakistani government is. They could have allied themselves with the USA and defeated the Taliban. Instead, Pakistan has enabled the terrorists to destabilize Afghanistan and possibly their own country. Moronic doesn't even begin to cover it. Finally, there is no way President Obama is going to win this controversy. It's already over. Sergeant Bergdahl is a deserter, and 5 dangerous Taliban war criminals are free. Tough to justify. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight. Reaction joining us from Manhattan, Kansas, former Army Specialist Cody, who served with Sergeant Bergdahl in eastern Afghanistan. And from Boston, Fox's military analyst, Colonel David Hunt. So, Colonel Hunt, I'm interested in your impression of the New York Times besmirching the entire platoon. What say you?
Yeah, the New York Times article on Sunday was tragically uninformed, specious, and disingenuous. Soldiers, since we've been fighting, since infantry soldiers, live in mud in 100-degree temperature or minus 30-degree temperature. They go to the bathroom in holes. There's no showers, no clean clothes. The food's bad. They don't have any sleep. They smoke too much, and we're normally scared. Soldiers, I promised you the only thing that's clean on them, clean on us, are weapons and our ammo. What somebody did is take a picture of guys digging a trench, sitting there with a bandana. Soldiers have looked like that in all of history. It was insulting to do this. The other part of this is that there was a bad platoon. Platoon leader was relieved for incompetency. I'm glad that the company commander, battalion commander fired the platoon leader. Nothing wrong with the soldiers. They had bad leadership. This is an attempt to try to give Bergdahl some excuse. It's a bad unit, so it's okay if he left.
All right,
That's
so you
crap.
don't trust this journalism at all? You think there was a higher agenda? The reportage obviously is foolish because, again, that's the only thing they came up with is that the guys were wearing bandanas and cut off T-shirts and that a sergeant had been dismissed months before. All right, let's get to you, Mr. Full, because you were a roommate. You were a roommate to Sergeant Bergdahl. You know him pretty well. Let's take the New York Times article first. I mean, you know, the entire platoon on page 1 of the biggest newspaper in the country. How do you react to that?
Well, we got out to the original OP where Bergdahl deserted from later, and there was literally nothing there. We had to build this OP by hand and with E-tools, which is about an 18-inch shovel. So we were digging bunkers literally in the side of a hill through sand, rocks, and dirt, and we were having to drive T-posts to hang concertina wire. Now, doing this in itself in civilian clothing in 100-degree weather is a hard task. Now, go ahead and add a helmet, a weapon, and body armor. We were told that security is in place. We are safe. You can go ahead and take off some articles of clothing so you do not pass out from heat exhaustion.
This is total BS. And I believe you, and I believe Colonel Hunt. Now, about the sergeant who was relieved, I mean, did that make your platoon bad? Did he do bad things?
Well, it was a PL, our lieutenant, that got relieved, and he was replaced with another lieutenant who is outstanding and all of us hold to the highest regard, and morale improved dramatically after he became our new platoon leader.
Okay, but the other lieutenant, did he do anything untoward? Were you guys in chaos or something to justify this New York Times article?
No, we were not in chaos. It was just incompetency on the lieutenant.
All right. So as Colonel Hunt said, the soldiers are fine, the leadership wasn't. The final thing, and this happened last week, and the New York Times accused you and some of your other guys who spoke out and told the story about Bergdahl being run by Republicans. Now, I understand an operation named Capital Media Partners did help you get on television. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. After I started tweeting this out about a week ago, I started receiving requests, you know, we can help you get your story out from different people. I went with them. I'm actually being represented by somebody that's not a Republican through that firm, you know, dealing with literally 1,000 emails, phone calls, text messaging.
Okay, so
it's kind of hard for people to have a full-time job.
Right, it's a PR crew, and one of the partners is a Democrat. But did they ever tell you, look, do Republican talking points, attack President Obama, to do anything like that?
No, sir, not at all.
You just went with them to get your story out, and you know, obviously there might be something in it for you down the road, a book, something like that. Tell your story. Now, Colonel Hunt, you went through the Vietnam War, and you saw a bunch of reporting that made our soldiers look terrible in Vietnam. Do you make a comparison in what's going on with the New York Times now, or is it just about protecting Barack Obama?
Well, it's a direct parallel. I mean, it's uninformed journalists with an agenda taking on soldiers in a broad brush. They have no idea what they're talking about. Again, this is a very good platoon. This guy is an example. And they were in 100-degree heat, and somebody took a snapshot. Bill, since war began, infantry soldiers have looked like that. I looked worse in the 4 times I was in Vietnam.
Look, when I read it, I just said, this is just a bunch of BS. So you don't have to convince this audience. This audience knows. It's motive. I got one more question for you, Specialist Cody. You knew Bergdahl pretty well. Good guy overall? I mean, we're trying to... Well... Go ahead.
Well, it's, I lived with him when we were in stateside in Alaska, and then obviously served in the same team, squad, and platoon in Afghanistan. And it seemed well until, he deserted his fellow Americans.
Were you surprised that he deserted?
Yeah, I think we all were surprised. Now, looking back, hindsight, and seeing some of the writing on the wall, I guess now it's not really so surprising, but at the time, yes, it was very surprising.
All right. Gentlemen, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Next on the Rundown, Juan and Mary Catherine will react to President Obama's mounting political troubles. And later, more shocking information about the VA and how it's treating American vets. Factors coming right back.